Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt, on the radio, on podcasts everywhere, on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and on talklawradio.com. Today's going to be a great show. It's Halloween, and we're going to be talking about Halloween and the law. We have some great criminal defense attorneys here with us today from Brick Law Firm, and of course, Shannon Salmon-Haas, San Antonio, our Instagram influencer.
Someday we won't laugh. Someday we won't. It'll just not have a laugh.
Yeah, that's the mic drop moment. Okay. So we're going to be talking about Halloween and criminal defense and how to stay out of trouble. Is it legal advice if you just tell somebody to stay out of trouble?
I think it's the best legal advice,
But does that develop an attorney-client relationship, or do they have to give you some money before you say that?
I think they have to give us $1. But stay out of trouble, that could be damaging to me paying for my kids' tuition. So if you do get into trouble, reach out to us. But yes. Okay,
so let's get to know everybody. Chris Cavazos, why don't you go first?
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. My name is Chris Cavazos. I am the co-owner, along with Stephen Barrera, of Brick Criminal Defense Attorneys here in San Antonio. Pretty decently large firm. We've got offices in South Texas, San Antonio, up in the Hill Country in Bernie, and our newest office is up in Austin. I used to be a state prosecutor handling juvenile cases and misdemeanor cases down in Atascosa County and Floresville County. Floresville's Wilson County as well. Partnered up with Steve, piggybacked on his previously successful criminal defense practice, and that's how we got started.
Why do that?
Why start a criminal defense firm?
Yeah.
There's a need. There really is a need for good criminal defense attorneys. And so, there's a lot of civil law firms. There's a lot of law firms doing personal injury and divorces and things like that. But there's not a ton of purely criminal defense focused firms. And so when Steve and I teamed up, that was the idea. No car wrecks, no divorces, keep it honest, stick with what we know, which is criminal defense, bring in people with a history of criminal defense, former prosecutors, former judges, things like that, and then really try to serve the client as best possible by sticking to what we know.
Stephen, tell us, why would you want to do this? Why be an attorney? Why be a defense attorney? Why be a prosecutor?
Sure. So I was fortunate in that I grew up in a family of lawyers. There's 13 lawyers in my family.
Goodness.
My father was an attorney, and when I was a young man, I used to go with him to court and see what he did, and I thought it was interesting and something I would want to do. I started my solo practice in a small community of Floresville, Texas, and I've known Chris since law school. So he was a prosecutor out in one of those little communities, and at some point, I was overwhelmed with work, and Chris was ready to make a change, and so we decided to kind of get together and start this firm, and it's been fantastic. And like he said, we focus solely on criminal defense. We don't do anything else. That's what both of us have a passion for, and so that's what we've kind of dedicated our time to doing is just criminal defense.
Okay, so where did that passion come from?
The first 2 years of my legal career, I was at a corporate firm, and I saw that it was people fighting over money, breach of contracts, things like that. The thing about criminal defense is you're helping real people with real problems. You get people coming in whose lives are at stake, or even in smaller cases like a misdemeanor DWI, maybe their career's at stake. We get nurses, we get teachers, and so it's very easy to get motivated and to be excited to try to help someone through that situation where you when you know that the potential consequence for them is they could lose the opportunity to pursue that career that they've worked their entire lives for. And then obviously on more serious offenses, you have people who are looking at losing their freedoms and their liberties because of a serious accusation. And so every day that I go to work, the cases are interesting and I'm excited to work on them. And I don't know that I felt that same way when I was doing a corporate practice.
Okay, that's fair.
Todd, are you going to ask this one? What do you do at a cocktail party when they corner you and they say, how could you defend that guy? How could you? What's your answer?
I get that all the time. And, people will come and say, well, what do you do if you know your client's guilty? The thing that a lot of people don't understand is that our job is to get the client and work to get them the best possible outcome, okay? That doesn't always mean acquittal because, let's be honest, there are plenty of times where person actually did it. And so our job in that situation is just to try to maybe minimize the complications that they're going to have in their life going forward. What does that mean? It's case specific. For some people, it may mean instead of them getting a 50-year sentence for a very serious crime like murder or sexual assault, maybe it's 35 years or maybe somebody gets probation on a DWI third instead of time in prison. So it's definitely not the situation that sometimes people assume where everybody that comes in, we represent to the court, no, they're actually innocent. Because one, there's ethical rules that, keep us from perpetuating a fraud on the court. If a client said, hey, I did it, I can't go into court and have them testify that they didn't do it.
I saw that in Lincoln Lawyer.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. So, and the other part of it is I like to tell people that, people have this view of criminal defense attorneys and sometimes give them a hard time until someone in your family gets charged with a DWI, or your son goes out with a girl and, the next day she's saying maybe something happened that actually didn't happen. It's one of those things where sometimes people, can have a negative opinion of us until they need us, and then all of a sudden we're the best friend.
Chris, there's so many laws. That's part of the reason I have this show is because people don't know that there's laws out there that will affect their lives. What if they didn't know it was against the law?
Yeah.
Is that a good defense? I didn't know?
No, and unfortunately, ignorance of the law is not a defense to the law. I did want to expand on something Steve said with respect to why we do it. And there is an aspect of it being important, and it's also very interesting. People do their 9-to-5 job, and then they come home and they immerse themselves in 48 Hours and Lincoln Lawyer and True Crime Podcast, things that we get to deal with on a daily basis. And so, the cases are very interesting with respect to all the other different practice areas. I've always thought that criminal law is the most interesting, it's the most important and impactful. And so, we're really grateful to be able to have interesting lives by virtue of handling these criminal cases, situations that people, when in their free time, go and immerse themselves in because they find it so interesting. We get to do that on a day-to-day basis.
I was once upon a time a criminal defense attorney for indigent defendants, and when my answer to the question is, I don't care whether the guy did it or not. I'm here to protect the Constitution.
Right.
And I'm here to protect all of us from government overreach.
Right.
And so we're going to make sure that they prove their case.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is, I've had so many cases throughout my 20-year career where at the end of the case, I still don't know what actually happened. So everybody assumes that we know all the facts and all the truth of what actually occurred, when a lot of times we don't. We just know what the evidence is. We know what our clients have told us. Sometimes those don't sync up. But a lot of times you never get the final answer of, hey, did this person actually do this or not? A lot of cases, I don't know even after the case is over.
Yeah, and I grew up in a very law and order family. I told people my dad was a lieutenant colonel in the Army. And, what you said is absolutely right. At times it is bigger than an individual case, and it is about protecting the Constitution, the country, the Bill of Rights, the law of the land is really the most important thing that we try to protect at times.
We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking about Halloween and the law and what can we do to stay out of trouble. Stay tuned.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Each week, attorney Todd Marquardt talks about the law. His mission with the Talk Law Radio show and podcast is to help you discover your legal issue blind spots. In the beginning, God had one law. Don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then came the Ten Commandments. Now we have federal, state, and municipal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws. Laws that might impact you without you knowing it. Listen to the show and drop a line on Facebook or email host@talklawradio.com and let the host know what you think of the show, the topics you want to hear, and whether you want to be a guest.